Hello there and welcome to this vlog of September 2023, and today's video is going to be the second part in my series of videos on campaign operations. Now, how I'm going to structure this is something that if you've watched the channels before you'll be familiar with, because you'll know this spreadsheet because I often talk about like the Dust Counters Force. The Dust Counters Force, for those of you who don't know, that is the name of my mercenary outfit in BattleTech and the name of this channel. And you know, they come with their like accompanying logo and backstory and everything else. This list here is like the full late 30s, 60s breakdown of the force. You know, they start as like a little company in 3025 era, and then they develop over a decades long period into actually a reinforced regiment. Sorry, so. It's kind of, I've said this before many times when I've done these kind of videos, it's kind of how I live through the BattleTech universe and kind of, you know, go through the journey with all the different eras and the different mechs that you can get and the technologies, things like that. Like the Dust Counters are my, for want of a better term, my cornerstone in that universe. And this list is the very cornerstone of that cornerstone, so to speak, if that's not going too far on that metaphor. What I want to discuss today, though, and I'll use the Dust Counters as an example here, is how do you do campaign operations on like a logistical level before you jump into it, and how do you tie that into things like real world buying habits? Like, you know, to do a campaign operation in BattleTech, if you want to do it like full hog, so you want to get the models and the terrain and etc, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money to do that. And I really need to kind of emphasize that point now. Like, it is expensive, but you don't have to do it this way. You can do exactly what I'm doing here, do it digitally on Megamech, or you can do it with bottle caps and a paper mat. Up to you how you do this. For me, though, the hobby side of BattleTech is kind of like bringing this two-dimensional Excel sheet here to life and making that, you know, like a real thing, which is, you know, it's all on the shelving behind me. So that's part of my joy within the hobby space. So that's why I do it this way. This is also quite an extreme example because this is a reinforced regiment. I would highly advise that if, you know, you are on a starting trajectory on BattleTech, just start with a lance or a company. If you don't know what that is, a lance is 4 mechs. So like my original lance is here. This is Kismet Lance, and they are in the, I've kind of changed all the terminologies now, so you'll see name changes. But this is the Hussars company, and that includes 3 lances. So that's Kismet, High Roller, and Godhead, and then there are 4 mechs in each of those lances, with a total of 12 mechs. Now, in terms of pricing, that's not too bad at all. You know, like a lance of mechs. I mean, you get, if you just go and buy like a game of Armored Combat, you get 8 mechs in there. So straight away you've got 2 lances for like, what is it, $60-$70, and then you just need to buy 1 more like Inner Sphere Force Pack, and you've got 12 mechs that you can kind of shuffle around and put them into different groups, whatever. And you can just do that. You can then say, okay, this is my my company here, and then maybe you've got like a couple of friends in the gaming space, and they can then say, okay, well, you run the mercenary force, and then I'll collect, I don't know, depends where you want to play, like geographically, you might say I'll collect the Capellan force, or the specific like pirate force. So you've got like, I'll be Red Jack Ryan or something like that. You can go whatever direction you want in, and then between all 3 of you over like a few week period, if you, I mean, it's not too hard to paint up like 12 mechs, you might have like, you know, a few forces that you can then run within the kind of confines of campaign operations. Likewise, you know, and if you're lucky, you might know someone locally, or you might be this person yourself who has like 1,000 mechs, and then you can, I mean, this is preaching to the choir on this one because you'll know all about this. But at that juncture, you can then go as creative as you want. Again, keeping in mind, you don't have to do it this way. You don't have to go out and buy all the minis. Obviously, you can, BattleTech is made in such a way where you can just run it as a paper mat and bottle tops if you so wish to do so. So that's kind of the first big point, really, is just be cautious that when you're dipping your toe into this, don't do this, what I've got here, right? Just to re-emphasize that point. It can seem very overwhelming. Keep in mind that I have read BattleTech. I mean, I took a huge hiatus from the game, but I was really into it in the 90s. Read all the original books and, well, not all of them, all the kind of core, biggest original books, and had loads of the source books and stuff like that. So I just automatically know the history of, the Axeman mech or the Orion or something like that. So I kind of know where they all fit. If you are just dipping your toe into BattleTech, it's going to take you a long time to get up to that level. And that's part of the joy, is kind of exploring that and finding out about all the, reading the TROs and finding about the mechs and the units and the different mercenary companies and all that stuff. It's all good fun. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to tell you about how I basically almost cheap out, ironically, given how many mechs I've got and how much this has cost me, but I cheap out in terms of campaign ops, because how I do it is, this is, for want of a better term, my master list, right? So if I want to run a campaign in BattleTech, just say if I decide, right, I'll run something in 3052, I don't have to use this list. So if you kind of see the established dates here, you can see, by 3052, they had 2 full companies. So there you are. And they had, an extra lance here. So by this time, they'd kind of got some clan tech. Go down a little bit. They've got, they've got the command demi lance, I suppose you'd call it. I mean, demi company, I'd call that. Maybe an augmented lance as well, so that's 6 units. Although some of these are available a little bit later, you see here. So it would just be these 4 mechs. So it would actually be a lance in 3050. So I kind of know what tech I have got available to me, and then I don't necessarily just play how the Dusk Haunters are within the confines of this list here. In fact, that would be a bad idea, because that would be quite boring, because that would be a very, very powerful mercenary force to start off with in 3050 or 3052 or whatever. It's these are the models that I like, and it's my list, and I'll do what I want. So it's quite OP in 3050 for an Inner Sphere force to have a Mad Cat, a Thor, a Vulture, a Shadow Cat. Right, that's not standard. In fact, that's completely ridiculous on my part. But that's just, again, my models, my rules. I do what I want. So, I might take those out, is what I'm saying. I might say, okay, what I'll do is I will just pick from these 2 companies here. And even then, you'd say this company, the what I call this is Hammerlance within the Dragoons company. I would look at that and be like, yeah, I don't even think we'd get access to that. I mean, a Mauler, an Axeman, a Bushwhacker, and a Wolfhound, they're the brand new tech. Wolfhound's a bit earlier than this, but the rest are relatively new techy. Whereas everything else, I can see them having access to. I can see them having access to, a Cyclops and a Grasshopper and a maybe even a Marauder 2, because the Marauder 2 is a mech that, although it's a Wolf Dragoons mech and it's quite rare, in the end of the Succession Wars, it is something that mercenary units can get access to because of where it's developed and how it's developed, because it's a Wolf Dragoons thing. So I might say, okay, I'll give them a fighting chance. They're kind of on the skirmish zone against the clans, and they're fighting for the, whatever, Lyran Commonwealth or Fedcom at that time. So I've got my little, whatever it is, 2 companies of mechs. I'm going to pick it from these 2 companies here, or I can, I probably actually would expand it. I would go and get in the Chavau Ledger company here. Not sure if that's how you say that, but it's not a very used word. I'll talk about these explanations in a second. Actually, these suffixes here. This is effectively like a scouting company. So I might decide, oh yeah, I will go and, they do have like a Raven and a Valkyrie and a Phoenix Hawk and a Mercury, and they use those to scout. So that's like a scouting lance within a wider company or something like that. And then I would kick off the campaign with that list, whatever that list is. And then you go on and you develop it over time. And that's going to be kind of part 3, part 4, part 5, however far I go in this series. But why I'm saying that, why I do that personally is, and I know the other way, I'll say this first and then I'll say why I do it. How other people will do this, they might just decide, okay, I'm just going to create a company. It's going to be a detachment of the Wolves Dragoons, and then we're going to develop it. I'll go to Ironwind and Catalyst. I'll buy 24 mechs and I'll make 2 companies. Voila! And then I'll paint them all up, and then we will run that campaign for like a year. That's a perfectly fine way to do that. For me though, and this is me cheaping out a little bit, I want it all pre-made. So every mech that you see here, and let's just go down this, it's pretty extensive. Just in terms of colour coding, anything that's purple, that is already owned and painted. Anything that's in this like brown colour is in the next Kickstarter. So the Discount Haunters are now actually absolutely up to date. I've painted everything that I can for them. I'm just waiting on the next Kickstarter. But you can see there is a lot of stuff there. And that's and you see there's like a whole host of vehicles that I'll be kind of using from the new Mercenaries Kickstarter. And when this is all painted then, I can start in pretty much whatever era I want to start in, including if I want to do the Ilkhan era, and just pick and choose these. So I might say, okay, I want to start out as a Lance in 3150, and I've got, I think there's 210 models here to choose from, the last time I counted. So, and then I can develop it from there. So I can go and get as creative as I want with it. Costs me a lot of money to do it that way, but part of it is the kind of thrill of being able to get what's on paper here onto the tabletop or onto shelving and get it all painted. It's all in the correct colour scheme as well. So that means that, if I do want to play like an extended campaign ops, and, you might find a friend group that want to do that, it just makes it consistent. And you can do it with other forces. Oh, sorry, that colour's wrong there. Just let me change that, otherwise my it starts to irritate me. There we are, that's the Dusk Haunter purple. So yeah, basically you can get to a point in this where you can run it for years, and I don't have to go and like buy lots of stuff. How I run other groups, so if I'm running like a Dusk Haunters campaign, I've then got, as you well know if you've seen me do videos on this, I've got like dozens of mercenary companies usually. I only have like 12 usually for the companies, 12 units or 12 mechs. I have a host, I will be getting a host of Innisphere battlefield support. So all the the vehicles, and they will kind of fit into forces. Why I say that's important is they need somebody to fight, right? So I can just go and pick off the shelf demolishers and mechs and vehicles and warrior VTOLs or whatever, and create an opponent's force with that. They're all colour coded as well. I think I'm at the point now where I've got a couple of companies for every like major Innisphere power. I've got like trinaries for every major clan. Or certainly will be getting that by the time the next Kickstarter gets developed. And then I can do like a fully all-encompassing campaign. So I can pretty much say at any juncture, okay, I'll run Dusk Haunters. And again, I would always go back to the Dusk Haunters because that's my main force that I can cherry pick from. And they are in Free Worlds League space. So they're up against this Free Worlds League mercenary outfit. So someone like the... I'm trying to think of a Free Worlds League mercenary force. Is it the Chinese Bandits? I can't remember their exact name. I've got a force of them somewhere. I've got ready to be painted shortly. Is it Smithson's Chinese Bandits? I think. Could be wrong. So it might be like, say, a company of them and a company of like regular Free Worlds League military. And then you can run a big campaign over that in terms of, over like months and months with an opponent. So you give them the Free Worlds League force, and you might play like, you might just play it as a boxed in event. So you might say, okay, well, we'll do this for like 3 different, so you might do it as like a chaos campaign, or you might do it as a wider, bigger campaign, or you might do it as chaos campaigns within a wider campaign. I will talk about chaos campaigns, no doubt, during this because they are really great and very useful and much more like streamlined than regular campaigns. So there's what I'm trying to get is the way that I do this is, even though it is expensive, there is a cheap element to it because I can just cherry pick what I want. It means as well that I don't have to I don't time pressure myself having to paint anything. So like if I reckon my entire force will be finished in about a year and a half. It's probably going to take me a good year to paint everything from the next Kickstarter. Believe you me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. The stuff that you get here, there's plenty more. So, and then when that is done, I will feel like I have gone on my BattleTech journey. It's going to have taken me at that point about 5 years, and I will have first of all, I will have realised my dream of getting the Dust Counters reinforced regiment, but then I will also be able to play it anywhere, anytime, any era, pretty much, and I'll have just thousands of mechs all painted up to choose from, all the terrain. And that's kind of been a big bucket list thing for me to do ever since I was like a young kid. You could never have envisaged doing this when you're a kid, and you don't have either the work ethic or the money, obviously, to do this. Now it's like I can just project manage it. So I basically try to paint up between 5 and 15 mechs a week, and I just know that I just keep chipping away at it like that. Within a year, 1.5 years, I'll be finished. So there you go. So that's kind of how, again, just to kind of give you a starter for 10 really on this, if you're new to campaign operations, have a think about what you want to go in for first, is what I'm saying. If you want to do it like I've done and kind of do it as maybe not as big of a project as this, but you maybe want to collect a battalion, so maybe 3 companies or 4 companies, and that you can cherry pick from. Or again, you might go down the other road of just going and buying 12 mechs and painting them up specifically for your campaign, and then they kind of go on the shelf, and if you ever need them again, you take them off at some juncture, whatever. Now, so let's get into a little bit more of the fluffy side of this. So I've already touched on one of them, and that's era. So that's the first thing that you really need to decide on before you get into a campaign. Again, with me, just the way that this is structured, I can kind of drop in and out of any era. A lot of this is on your own knowledge, though, really, and dependent on how accurate you want to play it and how accurate your friends, or that you're playing with, or your friend group or your gaming group are going to want to be. Personally, and this will come as no surprise to anyone, I don't think, I am a stickler for accuracy. So the thought of bringing a clan mech to a Capellan Fedsons campaign in 3025 just offends me, so that would never be done. But even more on the same lines as that, I wouldn't put a mech that was developed in 3042 in a 3025 era game. Or I would also have it if I was doing campaign operations, it wouldn't be possible to get Lost Tech without some kind of special stipulation that you'd kind of agreed upon beforehand. So you wouldn't see UACs littering the battlefield in 3026. You might see the odd double heat synced mech. You can justify that. You could run a campaign where you're going up against somebody who's got maybe a couple of mechs from the Star League era. That is completely viable. I mean, you'd have a job on fixing them, because I don't think any of the mech techs in 3025 would have necessarily really known how to fix any kind of Lost Tech equipment, but maybe that's me being just slightly too pedantic. They probably would, actually. I think heat sinks, it's I think it's more the actual manufacture of them, getting such a good heat system within at one point of it on your critical slot vents 2 points of heat. That's kind of space magic, because the regular heatsink is far less effective than that. So maybe it is just a matter of it's just how it's kind of made, but it's still got all the same components and electronics. I don't know. I probably wouldn't get that too fussy about it, but I'd certainly get fussy if somebody was bringing clan LRMs in 3033 or something like that. That would not be okay. So decide that first. Decide kind of the parameters. Some people won't care. Some people don't even want to specify era. They'll just say, let's just play a BattleTech campaign. Here are my mechs. Here are your mechs and vehicles. Let's just roll some dice. So again, depends how you want to do it, how far you want to go into it. There are other kind of fluff conventions as well to think about. Part of that, and this is the fun of creating a force, is the naming conventions. Now, or the terminology is probably the way to say that. Now, I've changed all mine recently. I had like bespoke names for the Dust Counter's first company was called the Azalea Company. I actually changed that just because I wanted something to reflect the BattleTech universe a little bit more appropriately. How I've tried to do that, or what I've done on that, is I went and like hunted, and I'll just switch screens here. Went and hunted all the what I'd call like the force suffix of like BattleTech forces, and there are loads of these, right? And most of them are kind of completely, I think, in fact, if not all of them, are related to our real world militaries. A lot of them are from like the Napoleonic era as well. Again, you don't have to do this, it just gives it a little bit more flavour. They are quite useful to know though, because it will show you what kind of force you are going up against. So these force suffixes here, this is split into two different tables. These are kind of the like the generic ones. So you've got like the regulars, the guards, the cadre, irregulars. The dust counters are actually an irregular force. An irregular force, as you see, I'll just read this out. Auxiliary force with a non-standard common structure, logistical operations. They are usually merged elements from different fighting forces. Mercenary forces are the quintessential irregular force. Now, for the dust counters, I run them they're almost like a democracy. Like, in fact, I don't know if that's unique in BattleTech. I don't know if other forces do this, but they actually elect their leader. When in their like very earliest days, like in 3020s, they were just basically a lance, and they amalgamated with two other like small like mercenary lances to form a company. Actually, a bit more than that. It was actually it was four lances, so it was an extended company, or you could, however you want to put it. It was basically a scout company, and then like 12 regular like heavy hitting combat mechs. And I wanted them to kind of to be seen as that irregular force, because I wanted them to kind of be a halfway house between like the Waco Rangers and Wilson's Hussars. If you have read the first Mercenaries Handbook, you will get that reference, because they're two of the forces that they give a really in-depth description of. So I didn't want them to be completely useless like the Wilson's Hussars, who were all like drug addicts and not very competent. The Waco Rangers are far more competent. They're actually a battalion. So initially I wanted them to be like an extended company. Wilson's Hussars is just a regular company. And most of their mechs are like out of commission because they don't know how to fix them. They don't have any mech tech. So that's how kind of low you can get on the ladder if you want to. They're kind of a halfway between that when they like really kind of get established. And again, because they've got that like different structure, I wanted them to be kind of seen as an irregular force. You don't have to give them any kind of suffix if you want to, but they're not a regular force. Like if you look at the regular description here, and this is again, this is exactly the same as our real world militaries as well. A force made up of career soldiers fighting under a banner of a planet, system, nation, or region. So you'll usually find that within like if you kind of go through like the Lyran Commonwealth militaries, a lot of their forces are called regulars, and they're just the battalions and the regiments that get sent into either do defensive or offensive operations, depending on the wider campaign. I'm not going to go through all these, obviously, but some of them are like professional, some of them are not. So you can kind of get right down into like militias, defenders, patriots, volunteers. So these are just like local people who are like defending a system. You've then got stuff specific to BattleTech. So you've got like the March Militia there. A March Militia is, I play actually a lot within the Capella March. So it's like a Federated Sons thing, where they will say like, okay, within that pocket of combat, which it always is, because they're always kind of at like either at Cold War or Real War against the Capellans. If anything flies up, they'll send the March Militia to go and defend it, but usually a militia would be just planetary or within a system, but the Davians are a little bit like wider scope operation than that. Then down here we've got and again this is my terminology, like the weights force suffix. So these are actually, I think all of these are from the Napoleonic era of warfare, and they're either it's British or French. So some of these are like, like light horse, obviously. That's the British, I think. Well, I'm sure the French use that as well. Maybe that is that there Cheval Le Gars, which I know is in BattleTech. That's like the Scout company. I can never say that though. It's not something that gets used very often. So I don't even know if the French do actually say that specifically. But then you've got like famous things here, like dragoons, grenadiers, hussars. All these have in BattleTech, they're kind of affiliated to a different like. No, it's not it's not exactly right. So like you see the dragoons at the top there. So you think about the Wolves Dragoons. So the description is heavy and assault mechs who are usually made up from the most loyal and elite mech warriors. That's true, but the Wolves Dragoons still have scout companies and light mechs. I mean, they develop light mechs. It's just that their force as an entity is associated with heavy and assaults, which is absolutely true. Like if you think of Wolves Dragoon mechs, you think of like the Marauder 2, you think of the Shogun, I think of things like the Annihilator. These are all like big, heavy hitting mechs. Again, they do develop light and medium mechs, but for me, like I can well understand why they are called Dragoons, and they are an exceptional fighting force as well. You'll know if you go into BattleTech, you'll see all forces has some kind of suffix on the end of it. So you see here, there's like commandos. So there is like the Capellans have got very famous like commandos legions. And again, you see the description here: mixed tonnage mechs who operate as special forces. Commandos are usually that's wrong. Comprised. Live edit there, of small groups or even one individual trained for special or covert operations. So, like you can get as creative as you want with your names. Now, usually, and this is where I like divert from like the regular BattleTech terminologies or the way that BattleTech is kind of viewed as a military organization. It will be the main force that gets these. So, like for me, it's the dust counters or regulars, but you might have like I've already talked about one, the Wilson's Hussars, and this is true. This does fit the Wilson's Hussars. Look at the description here: medium heavy mechs. That's pretty much what they are. They do have some light mechs as well, though, who focus on skirmish attacks and versatility. Like the Dragoons, they are usually made up from the most loyal and elite mech warriors. That second part, I think they think is true, but it ain't, because the Wilson's Hussars are certainly not that. But for me, I gave the wider force, we'll go back to the Excel here, is the irregulars, but then you see that every company has one of these suffixes. So I have got the Dust Counters Hussars, the Dragoons, the Lancers, the Light Company, the Cheval Le Gars. I need to learn how to say that word if I'm going to call my scout company that. And then, this actually differs. I've just called this command company because that is standard. With any kind of major force like this, you would have a command company. Loads of different ones here, you see. So we got like the, this is another word, trilliers. If we go and have a look at our descriptions, when you read that, you will see it says mixed tonnage mechs who specialise in speed, harass and ambush. And again, if we look at this, I've got yeoman, I've got the quads in there as well, and then I've got this really weird like demi company that's got like battle armor. It's got like a clan tech in there as well, like the Battle Cobra, Locust 2C as well. These are absolutely quintessentially mechs that you kind of look at in terms of skirmishing and harassing. I'm going to show. This is really, let's say, controversial. It's something I'm taking liberties on, really. But there are two companies that I've recently created because they announced they were doing the Somerset Strikers box set. So these are my Legionnaire augmented company and my Legionnaire clan trinary. So these are different. So rather than just 12 mechs, there are 15 in the clan trinary, and then there are 16 in the augmented company. And if we go to Legionnaire, and I'm sure you all know what this means anyway, but Legionnaire, usually a mixture of regular and irregular forces, and often created when a specific force has been badly depleted or possibly even destroyed, with its survivors being folded into several other forces. So it's kind of alongside reserve and group. Legionnaire, though, is probably should get its own separate category here, because Legionnaire is kind of where soldiers of fortune operate, and you can see here that's exactly what this is. So these are all, if we look at the lance here, there's like an attached 3rd Davian Guard, there's an attached 1st Orloff Grenadiers, These are basically, well, Davingard, obviously, that's a Fed Sons force. The Olaf Grenadiers are a Free Worlds League force. And then this is my liability, I have created, this is completely my own ridiculous law, but I love them so much. I've created the Somerset Jaegers. Again, let's have a look at Jaegers. Where are we? Jaegers, or Rangers, mixed tonnage mechs who are usually made up from the elite mech warriors and are known for their marksmanship skills. Now, it's not the Somerset Strikers, right? I have put the mechs there, so it's like Zachary Mild, Hawkins, Mauler, Franklin Sakamoto's, Hatamoto, Chi, that kind of thing. It's not them, though. I've kind of, in my kind of law, when the Somerset Strikers kind of, disbanded or whatever, the Dust Counters somehow managed to get their tech and just use that. And that's what I'm going to actually use for the new when I get the new Somerset Strikers box. Why I'm not doing the Somerset Strikers specifically is because I've already done them. So I've already got, they're on the table on the shelving behind me, and it's the old Ironwind metals. But the old Ironwind metals actually, they're better suited because they are like the Axeman 2N is actually designed to look like the one from the cartoon. The new one will look way too chunky and professional. Like the old metal model looks just like Adam Steiner's mech, so I prefer it to have the old like the old Ironwind models. There are, though, here I've got the Sloths and the Infiltrator Mark 1s. These are metal models which I already got, and they're already all painted up. So it's almost, well, you can see here it's the, actually that name needs to change there. Doing live edits galore here. So they've basically, that's why it's got the extra 4 units in there, so it becomes the augmented company. And that's because they've got the battle armor attached to the actual the company itself, so they're all kind of in that Somerset Jaegers, which I probably do deserve some heat for that. So troll away in the comments. I don't know how I'm going to paint them. I don't think I'm going to paint them in their original schemes because, again, I've already done that. I'll probably I'll do it the original scheme, but with the Dust Counters colours. So, I'll kind of look, I'm going to spend some time on that, I think, because that new set looks absolutely lit. So I'm really going to enjoy doing that. It was only recently that I decided to do that. And I know it's silly, but, I've got to do it because I do love the old cartoon. I do love the Somerset Strikers. So, I'm just going to indulge. Then you can see here another Legionnaire group. This is the Clan Trinary. So there's these are all forces from different parts of the like the clan powers. So you can see, if I go to the nation and rank here, you can hopefully see that over my big head. The first clan star here is from Clan Wolf. Then we've got like a Clan Bandit cast, and then there's Clan Goliath Scorpion. So those, again, it's just like Soldiers of Fortune. You just end up in the Dust Counter ranks like post-clan invasion. And I won't go on any further because there's loads. I've got the... Okay, we'll do one more, right, because it's fun. There are, I've got the Volunteers Company, the Partisans Company, the Defenders, and the Patriots. These are actually... in my kind of... it's canon, is this as well, but it's kind of headcanon, obviously, for when it comes to the Dust Counters, because they're not an in-universe thing. When the clans invade, there's mass refugees coming back, and because the Dust Counters are quite happy to kind of swallow up other groups and mercenary outfits and partisans, that's what they do. So you can see the first lot here, this first lance, these are the Scalpers, and it's the worst mechs. It's like the Cicada, an urban mech, an assassin, and a flea. But they're just people trying to escape the clan invasion who have just formed local militias who have, well, for whatever reason, the Dust Counters have been on a planet and they've kind of come across these people, fought alongside them, and at the end of that little campaign, they've probably said, look, can we just run with you because our town's being destroyed, we've got nothing to go back to. And over time, it gets a little bit more sophisticated. There's a Crusader, a Quick Draw, a Dervish, and a Vulcan in the next set. But these are, again, the Volunteers Company. So it doesn't want to be spectacularly good. It's usually just quite mixed and matched from all different kinds of places. And you can see if we go to the nation and rank, see they're all refugees. So these are refugees from the Oberon Federation. You've then got mixed in Federated Sons, Lyrans, Rasselhag Republic, Draconis Combine, all the powers that get affected by the clan invasion. It then though, like the defense against the clans becomes far more sophisticated, and that new tech starts to come up. So you then get like partisans. So this is then professional soldiers who basically learn how to hunt and kill, like clan mechs, and they've got. I did manage to pick up a Madcap TC, so it's the special version of the Madcap, like the limited release one they brought out recently. So I managed to get one of those and put that in there, and it gets slightly more elaborate. So then you get like you get like a lance here. So this is the Defenders Company. There's I think it's this lance here. This is like an advanced C3 network. Yeah, improved C3. Sorry. So just like that, it just becomes, and then you finally get the Patriots, and that's got like real big hitters in there, like the Gunslinger, the Night Sky, the Berserker, the Hauptmann, things like that. The Sai Sang, one of my favourite mechs. And I won't go any further now because the rest is basically just the support units and the vehicles. But you can see all those names there. They are on that like main list. I think you'd agree. It gives it a hell of a lot of flavour. Kind of tells you as well at a glance what that company is. So like the Hussars, which is like the first company. That is, again, we've already read it out. But if we go back to that, you can see it's that skirmish attacks and versatility. That is a force. It's got a catapult in there. It's got a Lancelot. It's got a Marauder. It's got a Victor. These are an Archer. These are mechs that you associated with that. It's their first company as well. So the first leader, Lemuel, it's Lemuel and Samantha, the two people that start the Dust Counters, the cousins that start the Dust Counters. They are obviously the elite side of it because they started it. It's their project. So, they have the right to call themselves the Hussars. You then get the Dragoons. So the Dragoons, heavy and assaults. Look at all these mechs here. So there's a medium and a light there, but everything else is heavy or assault. And it's got things like the Annihilator and the Marauder 2 in there. Again, pulling in from that in-universe lore. The Wolf's Dragoons, the Dust Counters Dragoons. It's got the Marauder 2 and the Annihilator, both of which are associated with the Wolf's Dragoons. So, you can get quite creative on that. Again, I would never use this list as for a campaign operations because it's too big. And it's quite boring as well. I mean, you just wouldn't have, you can't play BattleTech like that with a full regiment really because you'd never get that much on a tabletop. Not unless you wanted to kind of, and you could do this. It'd take you years though. You could kind of split up the forces and say, okay, well, we're invading this world. And this company's going to do this campaign here, and this company's going to do this campaign here, and we're going to play through all those campaigns. That would literally take you years if you did it with a force of this size. Instead, what I think is far more fun, and I think you get the real return on investment in BattleTech at that company or battalion level. I think even battalion's a bit of a stretch. You can see these are like reinforced battalions. A reinforced battalion is 4 companies. That is again irregular though, as the Dust Counter's name suggests. A regular battalion though, a regular battalion would be 3 companies, and I think you can manage that quite effectively as in a campaign. What I'd probably do on that, I'd mix in a lot of vehicles. So I'd probably do one entire company of vehicles. I'd probably do or you could do vehicles and then infantry alongside them. However you wanted to structure that, and then maybe just use like 12 to 16 max. You could also, speaking of infantry, I mean, I do have an infantry force here somewhere. It will be in the combined arms section. Here we are. So there's the conventional infantry. I don't use that much infantry because I don't use that much on tabletop. Again, this is my kind of force focus, so it's not really accurate to in universe because usually you'd have way more infantry than that. Like you'd probably have at least, I mean, I've got like 1 platoon there. You'd usually have you'd probably have, I don't know, like a battalion of infantry or something like that. I've got a platoon. I've got a bit more. I've got a company because there is Innisphere standard battle armor there as well, and I've kind of attached it to the mobile HQ and the MASH wheeled vehicle. That's the the medical vehicle that's coming out in the next Kickstarter. So they're not again. I don't like playing too much infantry on tabletop. I like doing it as special forces, really, not as just oh yeah, I mean, again, with the rules as written in traditional BattleTech, they are quite annoying. Actually, I don't think they're very good. I've said this often about how they do infantry. They treat men like mechs, with like damage points, and it's just the whole thing needs to be reworked. In my opinion, it needs to be all streamlined, and they need to do the same for infantry. What they are currently doing for the vehicles, where they are just vehicles become very much like less crunchy. You don't just have like a sheet for them. They just have like, I mean, I'm not going to go through that because they're still revising all the rules for it. It's in beta testing at the moment, but it's just going to be like, oh yeah, your vehicle can fire, and you get a little card that can, a bit like Alpha Strike, but you use it for within like the classic like battles. A lot of people don't like that though because it kind of takes out the advantage of vehicles. I personally love it. I think it's what they need to do. BattleTech should be focused on the mechs. Mechs are the king of the battlefield, and I think it's just gamesmanship to just bring like an all vehicle force because they are very, very crunchy if you know what you're doing with them. I think, the counter argument to that is it can be competitive and you have every right to kind of game and use gamesmanship, and yeah, you do. But I don't play like that, so to each their own. So for me, I've just got like the support company here. It's just like 2 of every vehicle, and I'll always use it as like supplementary. So I might bring a force and a couple of LRM carriers and a couple of squads of infantry. Any more than that, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't fun. This isn't what I signed up for. I want to play the mechs, the story, the narrative, the lore. It's about the mechs and the kind of wider inner sphere and clan geopolitics going on. I don't just want to rock up with 30 Savannah Masters or 20 Saladins or a battalion of infantry because it's quite boring. So there you are. So anyway, go back to point. Like I said, the reason I'm showing this is just to kind of, that's my way of doing it. Again, just picking from these forces. I'll create separate Excels with this force in it. So I'll be like, okay, I'll take the Hunchback, I'll take the Trebuchet, I'll take the Wolfhound, and I'll create like a company of that. Because it's got the Dusk, all my Dusk Hunters models have got the actual bespoke logo on there, the logo that you see from the channel. I've had that created into decals, and that's what they've got on them. So it all looks consistent and good, and it's all relatively well painted. So for me, it would be crazy really to play campaign ops with anything else, just because there's so much variety and it's so consistent and it's all matches in terms of colour schemes and everything else. So there you are, food for thought anyway on this second episode. Next time I kind of dip into this, I probably will show I might do it possible. I'll do some testing with it. I might run it through Megamech and use some of this force and create like a company and then see how that kind of operates. Or if I don't use Megamech, I'll just do it in Excel and talk like through the rules of how you do it. Eventually, though, we will segue into workarounds for the more complex aspects of running a campaign, which I love that book. I said this when I last in part 1. Love the book, have massive admiration for it, but certain aspects for it are so grindy and so sillily complex for a game. I think there are ways to kind of work around it and just like amalgamate costs and just speed things up a little bit so you can kind of have fun doing the management but then have more time doing the tabletop game. Anyway, I'll leave that here. So hopefully that was interesting and some food for thought when it comes to like naming forces and how you do this, how you even like, 'cause it can be so daunting. If you just want to jump into this, you'll be like, oh my goodness, it costs a lot of money. It's going to take me ages to do and I might mess it up. So the pre-plan is massively important to it, really. Just decide what you want to do first before you really kind of jump into it. Anyway, I'll leave that here and I will thank you very much for watching and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.